Hello, what is up the internet? It is me, your friendly neighborhood weeb here, today playing Warframe. Well, not playing, kind of explaining Warframe. That's a better way of putting it. Today we are going over Monkey Man, or Wukong. This is not the default, this is a skin for the Prime. But anyways, so, as the game works, each Warframe has their unique passive and then 4 abilities. Wukong's passive is 3 times after taking fatal damage, he essentially says no you to the damage and revives again. Or goes back all the way to full health and shields. And there's a small buff. I don't remember exactly what the buff is, but that's not too important. Then he has his one ability, Celestial Twin, which he does the Naruto clone jutsu. Insert that video bit here. And he makes a second version of himself. Pretty self-explanatory. It has a extra health based upon your strength mod, 2 times damage, which I can't seem to increase at all. It will use whatever you're not using. So if you're using your ranged weapons, it'll use melee. Or if you're using melee, it'll use ranged weapons, unless you're using his 4. But we'll get to that. His 2 is Cloudwalker, probably his least useful ability, but it's much more viable than it used to be back in the day. He turns into a cloud of mist to float through, and if you press E while in Cloudwalker, he'll do like a slam attack that'll stun enemies, and it stuns enemies in the radius. It'll also heal you for some reason. I didn't realize that before. Defy is less useful than it used to be, but it's still very viable. Wukong will, for base duration of 2 seconds, will absorb all incoming damage. His clone also includes in this if you have his clone out. And it will, for all the damage you absorb, it will do a certain amount of damage based upon the multiplier right there, within a radius, and it gives you a certain amount of armor. The max is always 1,500, but the amount of armor you get is done through that armor multiplier, also done by power strength. The damage done is all impact for this. So, not the best, but it's still a very good damage ability. It can clear out pretty high level trash. It does scale just because, well, it doesn't scale the best, especially against Grineer, because their armor gets really high, but it can still scale pretty well. I'd say the upper echelons is when you start getting to 110 or so. That's when it falls off for at least the Grineer. His 4, Primal Fury, his legendary staff, which still has a bit of a range problem, but it's definitely a lot better than it used to be. Primal Fury is an exalted weapon. He summons a staff that has very wide range. It is a drain ability, so when you have it active, it drains a certain amount of energy per second. In this case, did you know that actually drain abilities are affected by power duration? This is a weird thing, because, like, Umbra's Exalted Blade, the staff, stuff like that, is affected by power duration and power efficiency. I always thought that was a little bit strange. Anyways, I don't really have a very specific build. This is my mod build. It's not optimized at all because, I mean, it's kind of I don't really have a good arcane for it right now. I'm working on figuring that out. But Wukong is supposed to be a tank frame. And I don't have most of the Umbral mods, or most of my Prime mods, all the way upgraded, so that's a little bit wonky, but yeah. You want to get up your power, strength, range. Duration is pretty useful, at least for Defy, because 2 seconds isn't quite enough to get enough damage to make it worthwhile. But also, you want to have that armor duration up. So, duration having... You could probably get away with just regular continuity. I think that's how that's supposed to be said. Whatever. So, I'll just go into a little bit of a mission just to show off exactly what it does.
The sector is under control. Resistance crushed.
I'm gonna do a video on...
Optimizing the local workforce.
I really like the Kubaliches. I'm gonna do a video on them at some point. Not right now, but I do want to show off at least why I think the system is really cool. Oh, and I'm spawning into a Kubalich. Isn't that interesting? Oh, hello. Oh lordy. This has... Okay, so... That's basically how this works. Hit me, if you would please. Well, this was a little bit of an interesting case to spawn into. But, obviously, there's my twin. You kind of saw what my 3 can do. Is this guy gonna kill him, or... Yep, there's the murder animation. What was that? I've never heard that line before. Interesting.
There is a vault on the side. If security detects you, it will start the process to shut down the portal, severing any link with the agent. Keep going. None of the scanners have detected it.
So, this was a little bit of an interesting run, to say the least. This is basically how hacking works. You click on stuff until it gets done.
You are running out of time.
Oh boy.
Quick, use those consoles to change the destination of the main portal. One of them has to lead to our agent.
Okay. Maybe it's this one. So, rescue. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Where are you? Are you supposed to get all of these at once?
You've led my hostage job. This mission is over.
Alright, that was interesting, to say the least. I've never done that before, so... let's try this again in a controlled environment. Solo. Why not? Public. There we go. Maybe not the most controlled, but it's at least easier to deal with. Because this is just exterminate. We're not spawning into a possible boss. So, clone jutsu. You only get one clone at a time. So, if you didn't notice, I did load into something called the Steel Path. That is a new update for Warframe. The Steel Path is essentially starting at level 100 on Earth, and planets scale off of that kind of system. Cloudwalker, this. It will also teleport your clone to you, so makes that a little bit helpful recovery. It'll also fully heal your clone every single time. I don't know if that's just off of the heal per second thing, or per meter thing, but it does that. Defy. And you see up in the top corner with all my statistics, that was the damage and that was getting done to me. Iron Staff. Now I have an augment for the Iron Staff, which as I kill things I get higher crit chance. So that it's called Primal Fury, I think. Primal Rage, one of those two. But that's why I have the number that looks like the staff icon, so. Unfortunately, some of the combos will just land you onto the ground. That's why it looks like I'm tripping on nothing occasionally. How am I not getting the deaths? The murders? Okay, well this is the first time I've had something like this. It is bugging so that I cannot get crit chance increase. Strange. Anyways. That's basically how Wukong works. You could have gone down a little bit later. Let's finish up this mission and then we'll move on to a different thing. Probably shouldn't have gone with the Bazmu for this, since it's not exactly the most effective weapon. But it's very good for getting a lot of procs. Like so. Like, at one point within one what's it called? Within one firing of my clip, it did 10 procs to an entire crowd of Grineer. So that's why I like this. Proc machine. Or it did 10 procs of all of the statuses it had. So it's pretty effective, if I do say so myself. Unfortunately, I think the most procs you can get on any one thing is 10. That seems to be the cap, but I may be wrong. Mercy's always useful. Yeah, but that's the kind of damage your staff can do. There we go. There we go. Primal Rage, that's what it's called. And that's how Wukong works. Yeah, if you enjoyed the stuff, leave likes. If you didn't, just go away. Have a good one.